There is a quiet truth that lives beneath all the noise of this world, beneath the urgency of our schedules, beneath the heaviness we carry in our chests, beneath the restlessness that flickers inside the mind like a candle struggling against the wind. It is the truth we often sense, but rarely name. The truth that every heart, no matter how guarded, eventually discovers. Life is both beautiful and unbearably fragile. Even in our happiest moments, we feel the shadow of impermanence. Even in our darkest moments, we sense the faint glow of something deeper, something untouched by fear, untouched by loss, untouched by the storms that move through our days. This is where the ancient teaching begins, not in temples, not in sacred texts, but in the trembling and the tenderness of the human experience itself. Suffering is not a flaw in us. It is not a punishment or a sign of weakness. It is the doorway through which we come to understand the truth of being alive. It is the gentle tug that invites us inward, asking, is there another way to live? For thousands of years, this question has echoed across mountain caves, through monastery halls, across villages and cities and forests. It is the question that awakened a young prince beneath a tree long ago. And it is the same question that awakens something inside us now. Tonight we sit together in this moment, across screens, across distances, across unanswered fears, and we listen to an ancient whisper that still guides those who seek freedom. A teaching older than empires, yet more relevant than ever. A teaching simple enough to speak in a single breath, yet profound enough to transform a lifetime. Here, in the stillness between heartbeats, we begin. There is a rhythm to life that few ever hear. A pulse beneath our desires, beneath our disappointments, beneath everything we cling to and everything we fear to lose. It is the rhythm of change, ever flowing, ever moving, never pausing even for a moment. Most of us live as though this rhythm were an enemy. We cling to what is pleasant and push away what is painful. We chase after security in a world that refuses to stay still, like trying to grasp water in our fists. This is where suffering arises, not because life is cruel, but because we resist its nature. Imagine a river, clear, flowing, ungraspable. If you sit beside it and simply watch, its movement is soothing. But if you jump in and try to hold the water in place, you will exhaust yourself. You will drown in your own struggle. The Buddha never asked us to worship him. He simply pointed to the river and said, look closely. We age, yet we resist aging. We love, yet we fear losing what we love. We plan our days, yet the world shifts without our permission. We create identities, stories, expectations, and tremble when life does not honor them. But suffering is not in the change. Suffering is in the demand that change must not change. When the Buddha sat beneath the Bodhi tree, he saw the human condition with a clarity deeper than words. He saw that the heart contracts because it clings. He saw that the mind trembles because it cannot control the unfolding of life. He saw that the world's chaos is not as painful as the chaos we create inside ourselves. This understanding was not philosophical. It was intimate, like looking directly into the nature of fire and understanding why it burns. And so he taught what is sometimes called the hidden secret, though it was never hidden, only overlooked. Peace is not found by fixing life. It is found by freeing ourselves from the illusion that life must obey us. There is a profound tenderness in realizing this, a softening, a loosening of the fist around the world. When we stop insisting that life fulfill our expectations, we begin to feel something we may not have felt in years. Space. Space inside the mind. Space inside the heart. Space within the breath itself. In that space, suffering reveals its true nature. It is not our enemy. It is our teacher. It is the messenger that tells us where we are clinging, where we are tightening, where we are fighting reality instead of flowing with it. To end suffering is not to escape life. It is to align with life. But this alignment, the letting go, the loosening, the opening, requires something rare in our world today: stillness. And stillness is not the absence of noise. Stillness is the willingness to meet ourselves without turning away. We can spend our entire lives running from past mistakes, from aging, from loneliness, from uncertainty, from the truth that nothing we hold can remain in our hands forever. But what we run from becomes our shadow, haunting every step we take. There comes a moment, sometimes in the quiet hours before dawn, sometimes in the midst of heartbreak, when the running becomes too heavy. In that moment, something inside whispers, "Stop, just for a breath." In that single breath, the world shifts. Not because the world has changed, but because our relationship to it has softened. This is where the path to ending suffering begins. Not in dramatic revelation, not in mystical vision, but in a simple, quiet surrender to the truth that everything is changing and we can let it. To let go is not to lose. It is to stop losing ourselves in things that were never ours to hold. There is a place inside you that suffering cannot touch, a place deeper than thought, deeper than emotion, deeper even than the stories you tell yourself about who you are. This place is not something you must build. It is something you must remember, like a forgotten room within the heart, silent and untouched, waiting patiently for you to return. To find this place, the Buddha offered not dogma, but a path, gentle, practical, grounded in direct experience. But the first step of that path is perhaps the most difficult. You must be willing to look at your suffering without fear. In our modern world, pain is something to hide, to numb, to drown beneath distractions. We open our phones before we open our hearts. We scroll not for pleasure, but for escape. We drown in constant stimulation because silence reveals too much. But silence is where healing begins. Imagine walking into a forest after years of living in a crowded city. At first, the quiet is unsettling. You hear your own footsteps, your own breath, your own inner unrest. But as you continue walking, something changes. Your senses sharpen, your mind settles, your body remembers what it means to simply exist without rushing. This is what happens when we turn inward. We enter the forest of our own being, a place both unfamiliar and ancient. Here we meet our wounds, not as enemies, but as fallen leaves on the forest floor. They are part of the landscape, but they do not define the forest. The Buddha often spoke of the mind as something that can be trained, tended, and purified like a garden. If we plant seeds of anger, we grow suffering. If we plant seeds of mindfulness, compassion, and clarity, we grow liberation. But no garden transforms overnight. It is cared for with patience, with gentleness, with repeated return. The same is true for the heart. Some who hear this teaching misunderstand it. They think letting go means becoming passive, emotionless, indifferent. But letting go is not detachment from life. It is freedom within life. To let go is to feel fully, but without drowning. To love deeply, but without clinging. To act with compassion, but without the burden of expectation. It is the difference between carrying the world on your shoulders and walking lightly within it. Our suffering grows heavy because we believe we are the center of everything. We believe the world is happening to us. We take everything personally. Other people's moods, their opinions, their judgments, their praise, their silence. But what if we saw life not as a personal story, but as a natural unfolding? Storms do not ask whom they inconvenience. Flowers do not bloom for applause. Winter does not apologize for coming. Life moves through cycles because that is its nature. And we too are part of that nature. There is a gentle freedom in recognizing this. We soften. We stop fighting the currents of existence. We begin to flow. It is in this flowing that the deepest insight arises. Suffering ends not by controlling life, but by understanding its impermanence so deeply that each moment becomes precious and none becomes a prison. Nothing is promised, nothing is guaranteed. Every breath is a gift of the present moment. When we stop demanding that life give us permanence, we discover something extraordinary. Gratitude. A gratitude that is not dependent on conditions, but born from awareness itself. This gratitude is the beginning of awakening. It is the quiet joy of simply being alive. There comes a moment on the path when a profound shift occurs, a moment when the teachings stop being ideas and begin to become lived truth. This moment cannot be forced. It arises when the heart is ready. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast lake at dawn. The surface is still, reflecting the sky with perfect clarity. But beneath the surface, countless currents are moving. Layers of water shift and dance, shaping the lake's silent breath. The mind is the same. On the surface, thoughts appear and disappear. But beneath them, deeper currents of intention, habit, and perception shape the landscape of our reality. When we begin to observe these currents without judgment, something miraculous happens. We stop identifying with them. A thought arises, "I'm not good enough." But instead of believing it, we see it as a ripple on the water. A wave of anger swells. But instead of drowning in it, we feel it as a passing storm. A memory surfaces. But instead of reliving it, we watch it like a cloud drifting across the sky. This is freedom, not the absence of thoughts, but the absence of bondage. To be aware is to be unbound, but awareness is not cold. Awareness is warm, spacious, compassionate. It is the light in which all experience is allowed to arise and dissolve naturally. In this light, even suffering transforms. Anger reveals where we are hurting. Fear reveals where we are clinging. Sadness reveals what we love. Loneliness reveals our capacity for connection. Exhaustion reveals our need for rest. Pain becomes the compass pointing us back to ourselves. This is why the Buddha called suffering a noble truth, because when we meet it with awareness, it leads us to freedom. Deep within the heart lies a simple realization. We do not suffer because we feel. We suffer because we cling to our feelings as me and mine. But feelings are not personal. Thoughts are not personal. Even the body is not personal. It is a vehicle of nature, shaped by causes and conditions far beyond our choosing. The great secret, the ancient teaching whispered for 2,500 years, is that freedom is found in releasing the illusion of a permanent self holding everything together. This does not mean we disappear. It means we stop imprisoning ourselves inside a story. Without the burden of a fixed self, life becomes fluid. We respond instead of react. We forgive instead of harden. We let life touch us, but we do not let it define us. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack for decades. You have forgotten it is there. You assume the weight is simply part of living. Then one day you put it down. Your spine straightens. Your breath deepens. Your steps become lighter. This is what it feels like to let go of the self. It is not an annihilation. It is a returning to the natural ease of being. The mind will resist this. It will cling to identity, to preference, to stories of who we think we are. But beneath that clinging lies a profound truth. We are more spacious than our thoughts, more tender than our wounds, more connected than our fears allow us to believe. When we recognize this, even for a moment, suffering loosens its grip. We begin to trust the flow of life. We begin to walk with the world instead of against it. This is the hidden secret. Freedom is not somewhere else. It is here, in this breath, in this awareness, in this moment of being alive. Conclusion. The path to ending suffering is not a journey into something new. It is a journey back to what has always been within us. Clarity, compassion, and the simple, spacious presence of the awakened heart. The Buddha's teaching has endured for 2,500 years, not because it is ancient, but because it is timeless. It speaks to the truth of our lives today, exactly as it spoke to lives thousands of years ago. Life will continue to change. Pleasure will rise and fall. Pain will come and go. People will enter and leave our lives. The world will move in ways we cannot predict. But within us lies a stillness that does not tremble. When we touch this stillness, even briefly, we understand that ending suffering is not about escaping the world. It is about waking up within it. If the teachings tonight touched something in you, if they brought you a little peace, a little clarity, a little softening of the heart, then let us continue walking this path together. For more teachings, more reflections, and more gentle reminders of the freedom that lives within you, I invite you, quietly, sincerely, to subscribe to this channel. May you be well, may you be at ease, and may the path lead you home.